Welcome to Evangelicalish, where we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of the American Evangelical Church, deconstruction, faith, and God's love through it all. If you're listening to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform, we also invite you to join the live
Why did we just
Welcome to Evangelicalish, where we discuss the good, faith,
I don't know why
and
that
God's
just stopped.
love through it all. If you're listening to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform, we also invite you to join the live Okay,
I don't know what's going on. So let's just go here, Jeremy, and start.
All right, welcome into the Evangelicalish podcast, and so good to see everybody this evening. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Paul, and we have a special guest tonight that we'll get to in just a moment.
Yeah, that's right. We do have a special guest host that we're super excited about. And it's almost like she knows us so well.
Yeah.
All right. A couple of things real quick. Nothing crazy. Go to evangelicalish.com, join the Evangelicalish community, private chat board, all sorts of good stuff there. Some backlogged private episodes and things like that. We're not currently still doing that, but there is some backlog that you can go check out there. $4.99 a month. It just supports what we do here at the Ish podcast and with the Ish communities, and come join the private Facebook group. It's a really great place and lots of really good conversations there. Last but never least, if you were listening to this on a podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating, write a review, and tell people, yes, haircut. I told them earlier that the reason that you don't usually notice that is because I have a hat on most of the time. So,
Paul, in our comments, noticed that Jeremy's got a new haircut there.
Yes. Yeah. Paul said, oh, new haircut. Anyway, leave a 5-star review, write something, tell people why they would enjoy the podcast. Let's just continue to grow the conversation, continue to grow the community. All of those things are really great. So I think that's the housekeeping.
Yeah. And so our guest co-host tonight is a renowned social media influencer,
Yes.
awesome person, soon to be much ballyhooed author, and no longer a Tennessean, and her name is April Ajoy, and she joins us now. Yeah,
Welcome back.
Hello, y'all are too kind. It's weird. It was super weird being in the green room. I'm not used to that. The green virtual room. That's not green.
The virtual green room.
Yeah, was it really green in there?
It was not. It was, but it was weird. It was weird. But
well,
yay.
I hope we had good snacks in there for you, at least.
I have water.
Only the finest hydrated. Water.
The finest water for our virtual green that's not green room.
So you've been on hiatus. We have missed you desperately, although we thank Janice and Melinda for filling in so capably.
Yes.
But tell us what you've been up to, and you and Beecher have some amazing stuff going on in your world.
It's a lot of stuff. I've definitely missed you guys. I've heard great things that as the show carried on in my absence. Well, what is not going on? I'm still writing every day. I have a deadline in July, so it's like crunch time for this book, but I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I've never written a book before, so I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but it's turning out to be more than I even thought. But thankfully Beecher is a writer, so I've married a writer, so they've been helping me in the revising process, and they've been amazing. So shout out to Beecher, who's already like telling our secrets in the chat.
Yeah.
And then I think I mentioned before, Beecher, stop.
They're pubbing your book right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're moving also. So since I've been gone, we have moved a bunch of furniture, packed a bunch of stuff, got our house ready to listed our house, sold our house, made several trips to Kentucky, finally found a house. So now we're waiting. We close on our house July 7th, and then but our house in Kentucky will not be ready until July 28th. So we're going to be living out of suitcases for a few weeks in July. So, it's just a lot. I hate moving. I don't ever want to move again. Like
And
we haven't even gotten like really into the moving yet. And I'm like getting quotes from all these people. Also, just like fair warning, if you have to move and you fill out one of those things online to try to get a quote from like a moving storage place, you will get 100 phone calls from a million different other storage and moving places that you did not sign up for. So I've been like blocking, and it's a whole thing, but we're doing well.
Beecher says that y'all can stay with Paul and Jeremy for a week each in the chat, and I am all about that. So I can't speak for Paul in his house. I don't want to invite people to your house, Paul, but you're always welcome here.
As for me and my house, yes.
Yeah, you're always welcome here. You're Oklahomies to me. So,
how does it feel to be moving from Tennessee to Kentucky? It's almost like moving from Hades to Sheol or something.
You gave up Bill Lee for Mitch McConnell. So,
well, I will say, yes, it's still a red state, but Kentucky currently has a Democratic governor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and we just found just like a couple weeks ago, I can't remember the name of the media organization. It was like, I think it's like a queer ran news site, but they ranked Lexington as the #1 most friendly LGBTQ like small city in America.
Nice.
So, and the city and Lexington itself is blue. So
yeah,
even though the state's still red, I mean, Tennessee is just crazy right now. Kentucky still, it's like we're going from like hot red to maroon, maybe just like a more subtle red, like still red, still not in the clear, but.
And you're moving to the major university city, which normally tends to be a little more progressive and thoughtful.
Yes. Places with institutions of higher education tend to be a little bit more thoughtful and progressive.
When our realtor was showing us around, I freaked out because the city has 2 Targets. I was like, "There's 2 Targets?" She's like, "Yeah." Looked at me like I was crazy. Targets. Because we not only live in Tennessee, we live in small town.
Oh wait, so I was going to say 2 Targets that's a lot.
Yeah, we only have 1, and it's like clear on the other side of town.
Okay.
So I'll be living for like 5 minutes from a Target.
Just so I have context, define clear on the other side of town. Like, how long is that drive?
Like 22 minutes.
In Cleveland, Tennessee.
In Cleveland, Tennessee. Yeah, we live on the south side and Target's on the north side.
Right.
And it's a haul. Like we literally will say the things like, "Oh, I'm going to go into town." Like I love that we'll be living in a place where we're just already in town. We don't have to go into town.
Yes.
Well, congratulations. And, good thing you don't have small children because that would make the move all the more difficult. Oh, wait.
Oh, I know. And now they're going through this phase where they want one of us to lay with them to fall asleep every night. And the littlest one falls asleep first. And then the oldest ones, "Will you lay with me now?" So then we lay. It's just, it's a lot, but it's good. It's a good chaos. It's just chaos.
and I think just congrats on Beecher's job and knowing where you're going to live now, so you're not in that nether region of where we go.
Nether region.
Yes. you got it out. But anyway, we're glad to see you tonight and glad you're back with us.
Thank you. Yeah. And speaking of Targets,
boycott.
There's been quite the.
She may have been gone, folks, but she didn't lose the fastball. Look at that.
That was a great transition right there.
Did you guys see? Like, obviously they're mad about the Pride stuff, but I mean, what's new? But did you see? There's also this picture floating around of like this red cow creature with the horns that they're saying is like a Baphomet or some kind of like demon statue that. And Target's like openly worshiping Satan now.
Yeah.
It's completely photoshopped. It's like not real at all, but that is not stopping it from being spread like wildfire. Like even my mom posted a fact check on that because she kept seeing it on her timeline and was like, "Y'all, that's not real. Stop it."
Good job, Mom. Good job. So is Satan lives in Target, or it was a Satan worshiper in Target?
It was like I think they were wording it like it was a shrine to Satan. It was a statue to show their loyalties to the Dark Lord. But
Cool.
even if you didn't believe that, they're still mad because they're claiming that Target was giving like tucked bathing suits for children, which also is not true. So really they're just mad about the pride stuff. But like they were literally going in, some conservatives were going in and like harassing like employees that don't make these decisions at all, and to the point that a lot of Targets moved their pride stuff to the back of the store because like just for the safety of their own employees, which is just insane. It's so insane. Like,
They
and
will, they will know we are Christians by our love.
Yeah.
oh, I know. And these are the same people that like want like they're all about small businesses and letting businesses do whatever they want and like freedom of like capitalism and all this stuff. And then they're just going in and bullying public companies into submission.
Freedom to be hateful and Christian. That's what they want.
Yeah. Well, and that, I think I worked at Target when I was in high school. Like people are always in there for a holy war. Like it's ridiculous. Like I remember because we have in the Target close, we have 5 Targets in my city. I don't know why that matters, but the Target close to my house.
I was about to say I have 3 within a very short driving distance of my house. Well, 4 actually. A very short.
My
driving
2 is
distance.
not impressive. Listen, I was
It's
excited
awesome.
for 2.
I'm excited for you, friend.
Yes, that is.
But we have a Starbucks inside of our Target, and like we had a little, I shouldn't say little girl, like a fellow cashier that was like 16, like we were the same age, and she got barraged one night because of the red cup issue or whatever, that when that first happened. It's just, there's a lot of folks that want to wage holy war, and Target seems to be like a stomping ground for that. And I don't quite understand why, they're okay with, a baker not baking a cake for a same-sex couple because, freedom of business, and you get, it's a private institution and whatever. Well, Target should be able to sell whatever the hell they want.
Mm-hmm. Also, did you know that they're boycotting Chick-fil-A?
No, Chick-fil-A's God's food.
The Jesus chicken?
Yeah, God's holy chicken
Yeah.
itself is now being boycotted by conservatives because I don't know who actually went on the website and found it, but Chick-fil-A has a vice president of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So they have a DEI office. And so they had a little blurb, like a quote from their vice president over this on their website. Like it's not like I don't think it's even on the front page, but regardless, they found this, freaked out over it. But like they hired the vice president 2 years ago. So this is not a new thing, but they just found out about it. And so now they're saying that Chick-fil-A is now woke and they're caving to leftists. And I think they think that they're like queer affirming now, which I literally the quote literally just said like, here at Chick-fil-A, we want to harbor a place of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that is not holy, apparently. Like people are talking about this is like a sign of the end times. One person commented that Bible prophecies are now coming true because of this. I'm like, I don't remember the fried chicken prophecy in Revelation, but what do I know? I'm just a redhead demon.
Do you think there's any chance that these companies like Target and Chick-fil-A realize that queer people have money and they eat out and buy T-shirts and shorts and pharmacy things from time to time, and so it's a good idea to be inclusive and allow their money to come and be spent at your business? I mean, seems like a good idea to me.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just clearing my throat.
Oh, sorry. Well, I would say, like, I don't know if you've been following. I don't follow him, but in Elon Musk's Twitter, I see all of his tweets. I literally just muted him, but Matt Walsh has been claiming that conservatives now have this power because of what they've done to Bud Light, and then now what they're trying to do to Target. And they have seen, like, I guess some ticks down in their revenue. but now they think they're just like this impossible force that, but like they literally cannot boycott every single company.
I thought they were against cancel culture. It seems that Christians are the snowflakes that invented and have perfected cancel culture then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I mean, what are we talking about here? Like we are frustrated, or people are frustrated by the fact that Chick-fil-A wants to have diversity, equity, and inclusion inside of their business practices. I mean, do they understand what those words mean? And do they also understand how close those words are to the heart of Jesus?
No, I don't think they understand at all. I feel like those words have now been demonized. It's the new CRT. They call it woke now. Of course, they still say like critical race theory, but I feel like it's just like they don't know what they're talking about. It's the culture war.
When Nikki Haley was asked to define woke the other night, and she could not do it, and Donald Trump said woke is now an overused word by people on the right, and then he talked about how the military has become woke, like we won't be able to fight wars anymore because the military is woke. So I wonder, like, why do you think this is all coming up? It's Pride Month, and there's been hateful Christians for a long time, but why is it all coming to this head that it is now?
I think that Trump has empowered them to say the quiet part out loud, like we've mentioned a gazillion times on this show. And so what's happening is that they no longer feel like they have to pretend that they're not racist or pretend that they're not homophobic or, go along to get along, quote unquote. They no longer feel that is necessary. And so what we are seeing is direct correlation of that. And so it's full blown racism and homophobia because they have no reason to hold back. And there's not a lot of consequences when they act this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's all about conformity, and you just do what everyone else around you is telling you to do, because like Christian nationalism and just evangelical think in general is so rigid and so black and white that you can't think logically about certain things or your whole ideology starts to fall. So, and when people that you look up to are telling you, these people are out to get you, these people are bad, these people are trying to destroy America and destroy the family, and they're coming for your kids, then you get all up in arms and you get upset about it. And you're not thinking, does this actually make sense? Is this true? Because you're still like, these are the people you've always thought, like, listen to and look up to. So if these people are saying that, it just has to be true because they wouldn't lie to me. And if they're lying to me about this, then what else? What else have they lied to me about in the past? It's just like a vicious cycle of, you guys remember, we were all outraged over stupid stuff. Like I remember back in, I think 2012, when Chick-fil-A, Dan Cathy, the president then had made this statement. He was like on some show and he reiterated that, he believed that marriage was between a man and a woman, just like the Bible said. And so that was like the first, like when the first boycott against Chick-fil-A started because they were homophobic. Well, I was still staunchly right wing at the time, and I daily went to Chick-fil-A and I posted about it on Instagram, and I was like, day 2 eating Chick-fil-A, like the left can't shut us down, and I genuinely felt like I was standing up for God, eating fried chicken every day because that's what like Fox News was telling me, and like the pastors around me.
You didn't eat it on Sunday though.
Well, no, they're not open on Sunday.
You buy 2 on Saturday and reheat one on Sunday. That's what you do.
Like manna. I love it. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Well, I was just going to mention, like, yeah, I remember doing that exact same thing. I stood in a Chick-fil-A line for 2.5 hours to eat like a horrible chicken sandwich,
Yeah, you were
'cause they
like taking a
yeah,
stand.
yeah, like I remember they had like a whole day where they were like, go show that you care about, Jesus and equality, marriage, biblical marriage or whatever. It is, but what it is, and you're touching on it here, is it's the constant fear mongering of making people like they will just scream any boogeyman, and then once they find ones that seem to hit the base a little bit better, then they just continually drive that home, drive that home, drive that home. Well, they're trying to turn your kids all transgender in schools, and they're trying to make them all queer, and like all this kind of stuff, like this ridiculous rhetoric, and none of that is true. But also you have to, I hesitate to even say it this way, but you have to realize the base that they are getting riled up are people who traditionally are not as educated, traditionally, not surrounded with diversity, and they don't care. And so it's simply just a political ploy by God, country, family, whatever, and make sure that they say the hot button things so that you feel like you have to protect your kids or protect your family.
Yeah.
Mm.
I totally agree with you. I would also say though, I do think a lot of them are uneducated, but I was educated and I still fell for it.
Yeah,
too.
I agree. Like I've seen so many smart people, very smart people fall for it. It's been crazy, but I think what you both are saying really well, because what I was kind of trying to churn in my head is it Christian nationalism? Is it the idea of, if America goes woke, God's going to punish us, and then America's going to fall, and America is what's keeping the world in check, which is what I hear a lot of my Christian friends say. And so is it like, we've got to stand against Target so America doesn't fall and God's plan fail on earth? Or is it's just what I hear you guys saying, and I think I agree, it's really not that thoughtful of a deal. They're just now in this wave and echo chamber, and they're told, oh, hate Target, and they're like, oh, okay, we hate Target, and have very little idea as to why they hate Target. It's just that's what we're told to do now by Fox or our pastor or Mark Driscoll, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
It's groupthink, as Paul W. says in the comments. It is the ultimate principality, as it's called in the Bible.
Yeah. Well, I think, yes, it's Christian nationalism, but I think the reason why evangelicals are so prone to falling for this stuff is because so much of the theology that we're taught, which is separate from Christian nationalism, but it teaches you from a young age, especially if you're raised in it, to not trust your own instincts and to not think critically, like have a blind faith, don't doubt, don't like you're almost like having any sort of logic or questions is really frowned upon. And if you ask too many questions, then it's like, whoa, are you sure Satan's not leading you astray? And like I don't know if y'all ever read This Present Darkness by Frank Peretti.
Of course.
Okay, so I love those books growing up. But and I know it's a fiction, but I read it almost like, yeah, I know this is technically made up, but it's basically what really happens in my head. So like anytime I would have a thought about anything, I was constantly wondering, is this thought from God? Is this thought from the devil? Or is this thought from me? And if it was from me, it might as well have been from the devil because my flesh was inherently evil and sinful.
You're depraved. Yeah.
So like you're automatically just taught to shut down your own thoughts. So when you see the leaders in your group telling you Target is evil, trans people are coming after your kids, and all of these things, your thought is, oh, well, these are the people that I trust, so I'm going to listen to them. You're not thinking, that doesn't seem right. You just go along with it because you're trained.
But they're doing it. They're doing it by measure of like quantity versus like quality of argument. So they're taking like 100 different boogeymen and throwing them at the wall and then just kind of keeping what sticks, I think. And so once they pick up traction and they notice the base start to get riled up about something, they will beat that point to death, because they try 100,000 different things, like we've all of a sudden heard a lot of silence on this like Hunter Biden laptop situation. They just never got the traction that they wanted for it, so they scream a boogeyman and just find one that works and resonates with the base and gets people up in arms. And then they just drill it. And that's exactly how their Lord and Savior Donald Trump operates. I mean, he is the exact same way. And so he started screaming fake election 2 years before the presidential election in 2020. I mean, he was saying, if I lose, it's rigged. If I lose, it's rigged. He had absolutely groomed his entire support system to believe that if anything other than a victory happened, that it was rigged. And therefore we saw the results of that. So, they just find what sticks, and then they get people completely riled up about it to where they go besides themselves, because we've seen, like you said, people that are smart and intelligent just lose their goddamn minds, and it's tough to watch.
I wish I could, and none of my Christian friends listen to me anymore, of course, but I do, like, I want to tell Christians, like, you can stand for your beliefs and theology. It's when you hurt the gospel, though, when you act the way you all are acting. Like, who would want to be a part of your group? You guys are like we're being oppressed. No, you're being fucking assholes, and people respond to assholes this way. And I saw a perfect example of this week. The Los Angeles Dodgers, who I hate because I'm a San Francisco Giants fan, they invited the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence to come and do a performance for one of their games, and these are people who dress up as nuns, some in drag. They are a satirical group, and they mock Christianity in a lot of ways because they're dressing up as nuns, and although some evangelicals don't think Catholics are Christians, they are making fun of religion in some ways to make a point about inclusion and different things. And so you have two Dodgers players who get upset about this and speak out. One is Blake Trinan, who is I'm a Christian, and Sean Foyt's one of my best buddies, and I go up to Bethel and speak. And so he comes out and just says, this is evil, and Christians are required to stand for truth. And so I'm against this. And he's like threatening not to play the day that they do the night with the nuns. Then there's Clayton Kershaw, who, by the way, I hate because he's a great pitcher and he kills my team all the time. And he comes out and says, well, if we're going to have the nuns come and perform, can we reinstate? We used to have a Christian night for Dodgers games. Can we reinstate a Christian night? And he said, my wife and I talked about it, and we don't think we necessarily have to be against what someone else does, even though we're kind of offended by what they do. But he said, it isn't Jesus more that would come and say, well, let's present an alternative. And it just, when you see the contrast between the two, even though I hate Clayton Kershaw for being a great pitcher for the Dodgers, I can't hate him at this moment because, yes, he's standing for something in a stance I may disagree with, but he's doing it in a way that presents Christ as an attractive option and way to live, rather than the Blake Trinan way of, I'm just going to be a dick about it all. And I wish I could just say to Christians, like, isn't the gospel still important as well as being an angry, hateful, homophobic Christian? Mm-hmm. I just think I wish they could see what Kershaw is doing and say, yeah, maybe that's a more effective way to take a stand for righteousness, as they think they're doing, but also still be attractive of people to what we're trying to do through the gospel.
Yeah, I feel like those two examples are a perfect example of the types of evangelicals that I come across. The one who just stomps their foot and shouts at you that you're wrong, you're a sinner, this is terrible. Like, you can't have a conversation with those people. They've their minds made up. They're not seeing the humanity and the people around them. They've just demonized everybody else. They're the only people that are right. There's no room for nuance. But the Clayton Kershaws of the world, honestly, like at the end of the day, we can disagree, but I can respect someone who disagrees with me theologically if they're actually hearing me or listening to me and having a conversation. But the majority of what, at least the interactions that I have online and like my comment section and in my DMs, are just from evangelicals screaming in all caps at me that I'm a sinner and I need to repent. And they're, copy and paste scripture that I've read a million times, like it's something new. And like, I really don't understand how they are so hateful, because I mean, I understand why they're hateful. I don't understand how they could genuinely still profess a Christ who is loving, who is peaceful, who said to turn the other cheek and to lay down your sword, and think that he would be cool with you screaming at people that they're demons and going to hell, like in like an excited way. Like the amount of people that get off on the idea of me burning alive forever is really gross. Like they want me to go to hell. They're thrilled about it.
You're going to find out when you get to the end, April, and
Mm.
we'll be watching you burn.
Yeah,
Basically.
Jesus said of religious people, Sodom is going to have a better judgment day than you. I don't know that we read those verses enough and say maybe Jesus is talking to people who believed a bit like we do.
Yeah.
And I can't find any verse, any place where Jesus was like, yeah, that Roman government is really evil. We need to go protest and bless the zealots as they try to overthrow Rome. That's our job.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was very much an anti-status quo radical leader, but never said, and the way we're going to do it is by, overturning the Roman government. It was like you walk out loving God, loving your neighbor as yourself, and the kingdom will make things change around you. And this idea that it's the job of Christians to overturn the government somehow by protesting against Target just doesn't really line up with who Christ was in the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus told them to go pay their taxes, right? Give to Caesar what's Caesar's.
Yeah.
And so I don't I don't think that I don't think that it's insane to me that they can talk about a Jesus of grace and love and mercy and compassion in Sunday school, and then on Monday hate everyone around them, because American evangelicalism, Christian nationalism, the cognitive dissonance is their religion. Like they have so many holes and flaws in the things that they believe that they have no problem being one way on Sunday and being a completely different person on Monday, because they don't see any issue with that, because things don't have to be congruent. It doesn't have to make sense to them. And so that's the biggest problem with that entire thought process, is just the disconnect of logic. And so, at some point, we all kind of had this awakening, not that we're better than anybody else, but we kind of woke up to the fact of like, oh, if we're going to follow this Jesus guy or say that we really care about this Jesus guy, then maybe we should start acting like this Jesus guy. And so, yeah, Jeff says in the comments, and they don't see it. Yeah, they don't see it because they're not trained to see it. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trained to see it. The cognitive dissonance, the disconnect, the hypocrisy, like all of that just comes as like standard features on that car. So, and that's the biggest thing. So there's never been an equation of like Jesus responded this way and Jesus saved his harshest criticisms for these people and gave a ton of grace and love to these people, so I should maybe interact in the same way. That thought process never happened, because that's just not how they operate.
Yeah, and then they also just twist this, like they say they take scripture literally, but then they also twist scripture to fit their narrative. I mean, I guess in a sense, everybody does to some degree.
Yes.
But I literally saw
because it contradicts itself. So yes, you have
No, yeah,
to.
it does. You have to figure it out for yourself. But there was a guy on Twitter who said that love thy neighbor, Jesus only meant your Christian neighbor.
Uh,
So that you don't have to actually love.
They are just ignoring shit at this point. Like they just give no shits whatsoever. It is amazing. Yeah. Sorry, April. Yes.
well, I had somebody on my page comment this week. Well, pride is the most egregious sin in the Bible. And of course, when I went and looked, he was a Bethel Supernatural School of Ministry grad. But like, like, where in the hell did you get that? Show me where in the Bible it says pride is a great. And he's like, well, all 10 commandments come out of pride, and it's like, wait, lying generally doesn't come out of pride. It comes out of fear. People are lying to try to keep from getting, and so you're just making shit up at that point.
Yeah, they're literally pulling stuff out of their butts. I've been seeing a lot of that same rhetoric that pride is the worst sin ever because it's Pride Month. I clicked on one guy who said it, and his bio said "Proud American."
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
And I'm proud to be an American.
They're fine with that song. That's the right kind of pride. That's the patriarchal kind of pride that we're cool with.
Is it? I wonder if you talk about how we're taught we're depraved and sinners and terrible. And so as a Christian, you're in this bondage of being told you're this evil, horrible being. And then you watch a pride parade, as I went to our wonderful pride parade in Fresno over the weekend. And by the way, normally they have like 60 some odd entries in the parade. And this year they had something like 170. So
nice.
F you, right-wing nutballs. But does a Christian see that parade and go, oh, I'm under the bondage and can't be free to express love for myself. So why should you get to be free and express love for yourself? Is it like they see that light of joy of life abundant and say, well, I don't get to do that. So why should you get to do that? Or is it that they look at drag queens and they go, I'm feeling a little tingly. That makes me uncomfortable that man is kind of pretty.
I mean, yeah, probably all of the above.
There's got to be some latent inner feelings that underscore some of this.
It's got to be a mixture, right? Like I think it's, I don't think even the bigots are, like universally monolithic. Like I think they all have their own reasons for being bigots, and so yeah, there may be some of them that are very closeted and doth protest too much, perhaps. But I think probably what is more true is the first thing you were talking about, Paul, is there is like this freedom of expression and authenticity. I literally had someone tell me in a DM the other day, they said that, because I said, I think that there's beauty in the authenticity of like pride events and our LGBTQIA plus siblings and them being authentically themselves. And they said, well, it's not always good to be authentic. Scripture says we shouldn't be authentic. And I was like, okay, first off, you can never point to a verse where Scripture says don't be authentic. But then also, like, that was the quiet part out loud. It was we're not allowed to be. And I agree with that. Like, my heart actually hurt for that person because I was like, you know what? Yeah, you probably really believe that. And that is harmful. And that's why they're all cults.
Well, yeah, I've been watching Shiny Happy People.
Oh my God. I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Which is on Amazon if you haven't seen it. It's about the Duggar family and Bill Gothard, and which I was not raised under Bill Gothard, thankfully. But as I'm watching it, it surprising and not surprising how widespread a lot of his teachings were, because I remember hearing it in Sunday school. I saw that stupid umbrella graphic where it's like God's at the top, then husband, then wife, then children. And yeah, it's just there's this constant, you're just miserable. It's not a happy life. You're not allowed to be yourself. You become a shell of a human sometimes. And it's not that you can't have happiness and you can't have fun, because I still had fun when I was in it. But I don't know how to explain to people that are still in it how much in bondage you actually are when you're constantly afraid of your own thoughts. And when you're constantly afraid of, if I do this, this is a sin. This sin could lead to other sins. Other sins could lead to me no longer believing in God. Then I'm an atheist. Then I go to hell. Or the rapture, or, wanting the Lord to tarry so you can have sex on your wedding night. Like there's so many like different levels of anxiety that
you even use the word tarry.
I know. Yeah, I know. Hey, if the Lord tarry, I'll graduate high school.
I actually really love that.
The most anxious prayers I think I had as a teenager was like, one, I was excited for Jesus to come back because I didn't want to get left behind. But then I would be like, beg God, please don't come back until I'm married on my wedding night, because I couldn't just have sex, because then I would go to hell, and I wasn't about to go to hell. But like, if I could just have I
wasn't about to go to hell.
Yeah, if I could just have married, glorified, like allowed sex before Jesus came back and the trumpet were to sound, I was like, you can take me, then I'll be fine.
Wait, did you say allowed sex or loud sex?
Allowed.
I was curious.
No, I didn't know I could have loud sex. Women,
and of course, there's no sex in heaven, so you couldn't.
Yeah, when girls don't enjoy it, didn't you know? Only men can have orgasms.
Yeah, how many women, if the Lord had come back on their wedding night, would have been like, I don't even know what we waited for. You shouldn't have tarried anymore.
It's too real.
It's such a good point. And watching the Shiny Happy People special, and there's so many now of these that we've watched that you're just like, oh my God, it's been so prevalent. But that thought of like watching those kids who are well behaved, what is really happening is the humanness is disciplined out of them, so that they act as robots. And so when Jim Bob comes and says, hey, you've got to protect the family, so go on TV and say it's okay that your brother molested you, they do it because they've been dehumanized, and their needs and what they want and their expressions of happiness and joy don't matter. It's what the family needs, and ultimately the family means the patriarch of the family. What Jim Bob needs, that's what's important to everybody, and it's horrifying to watch.
You're also not allowed to express negative emotions either. Like if you are, sorry, Beecher's making me laugh because Beecher said the Lord came back on our wedding night, but we told him to hold off a bit longer because it wasn't that great. We needed more time. True. We actually thought about making that a sketch. But so what I was saying is you're not allowed to express emotion, like it's especially as a female, but just generally, like you're not allowed to express negative emotion. Like you're supposed to just be happy and receptive and kind and helpful. The amount of times I was told as a female in evangelical church that my role, like my main job, was to be helpful and to make sure I was helping the men that needed to lead the church. And it's just constantly, even if you felt on the, like if I felt on the inside of like, why do I need to help a man? Like, why can't I just do this? Then I have to shut that down. I'm not allowed to express that. That's not what a good Christian lady does.
Yeah, well, and ultimately at the end of the day, it boils down to what makes the church so effective and Christian nationalism so effective. We kind of were talking about this earlier, like how do people get sucked into this? It's because they're indoctrinated at a very young age that they're evil, that they're, that they're stupid, that they're, not worthy of anything good to ever happen to them. Like,
Mhm.
bad things don't happen to good people because there's no such thing as good people. Like, I can't tell you how many times I heard that from a pulpit,
Yup.
like we can't say bad things happen to good people because none of us are good, no, not one. And so when you accept that for yourself, and because to truly be a part of the culture, to be accepted is to say, I'm evil, but Jesus healed me, right? Or whatever. And now I walk in this freedom, but my only joy, anything I could ever get out of life, is only found in Jesus, this very specific Jesus that y'all have defined. That is how you get so deep into this realm where you start just making dumb, ill-advised decisions for your family, or putting your family in bad situations, and all of those things. And it's because it starts at a very young age, and you're taught that you are a piece of trash, basically.
And isn't the gospel of evangelicalism, I'm a sinner, but I say the sinner's prayer and I trust in the atonement of the blood of Jesus having the shit beat out of him on the cross by his loving Father. And so if a cis hetero male looks at porn on the computer, it's just, oh, Jesus, I'm sorry, but thank goodness I'm under the grace of Jesus. And I'm going to go to heaven anyway. And even if Jesus comes back in the middle of that porn moment, I still get to go because it's grace, right? But somehow for queer people, we don't have the same theology. Like, they're not under the grace of Jesus. They have to change their behavior to go to heaven. Am I wrong? Like, this is some crazy theology that they're not living out of their own theology, that it's grace. It's all the death of Jesus on the cross. Unless you're gay, unless you're queer, unless you're trans, then you either have to be celibate, or, they have all these other rules, and it doesn't even, it is cognitively dissonant. And by the way, when Bill Gothard comes on the screen in that documentary, it's like, oh yeah, that's a child molester right there.
Doesn't he look like a vampire? His eyes kind of look red. He totally. Anyway, that's just what I think. I've been reading a vampire book, so
the devil's lettuce.
it's on my brain.
And I shouldn't say that because child molesters come in all shapes and sizes, but he is just a creepy looking guy.
Well, just the fact that he wrote entire manuscripts on biblical marriage and biblical parenthood despite never marrying and never having children, is sus.
Yes.
To pull out Gen Z
language. I was like,
thank you. I'm trying to be cool.
Yeah, sus is bad, right? Sus is
suspect.
Yeah, suspect. Yeah, I just the whole thing is insane, and but what I've realized is that in evangelical spaces, sins that come natural to the greater majority are excused because we all deal with them. And, every man at the men's breakfast on Saturday mornings has struggled with pornography or lust, and so it's like the things that, and we are this way naturally, right? Like, our biases define the things that are easier for us to make excuses for, or to not feel as bad about. Like, so inside that culture, they make excuses for the things that come naturally to them. It's the stuff that makes them really uncomfortable, that they have just decided is not allowed, and is, go directly to hell, do not pass go, do not collect $200. And that is, again, manipulation and weaponizing of the scriptures outside of the teachings of Jesus to then control the environment to make sure that you are always comfortable in the environment.
Maybe we should, as Kate was pointing out at the beginning of this earlier, at least celebrate, April, that your Tennessee had its drag ban overturned by the courts this week. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yes. So that's actually something, I think that's happened. did we talk about the drag ban before I left the show
I think so.
initially?
Yeah, it's come
So
up a couple of times for sure.
With
yeah,
Bill
yeah.
Lee, who we have pictures of being dressed in drag, right?
Yeah, so I actually went on a drag bus back in late March, early April, maybe. Did I talk about this already with y'all?
I think so, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, but we were like protesting this drag ban because the stuff was so vague that like Beecher and I have literally had to talk like, is Beecher even safe here? Like, are trans people even safe in Tennessee? So thankfully, a federal judge ruled it unconstitutional a couple days ago. And it's actually interesting. One of our local Tennessee representatives, who's Republican, so helped craft this bill, and like he lives in our same town. So I voted against him because he's always rubbed me the wrong way since like our BLM protests back in 2020. But Beecher's actually had some back and forth with him and being like, hey, this bill is harmful to me. Like this, some transphobic cop could use this bill, and it's so vague that he'd be in the right to arrest me if I walk down the street in the dress. And like, it was just going straight over this guy's head. He was just like, no, it's to protect the children. It's to protect the children. Like, just like, it is not to protect the children. Even a Trump appointed judge was confused by it and said, this doesn't make sense. Like, if a Trump appointed conservative judge is going to not understand the bill, then rando cops are definitely not going to understand the bill. But anyway, all that to say, it's a victory. Also, there's another trans ban of like affirming care in Florida that was just blocked as well. So 2 wins for trans people.
But yeah, what people don't realize is, the Don't Say Gay law in Florida, DeSantis is always arguing, that's being misportrayed by the media, and it's just, K through 3, but then the law actually says age appropriate. And so the law is being applied at all levels of education, including the collegiate level, where DeSantis is taking over the boards of universities to turn them into conservative universities. So all day long, guys, this stuff is like, no, this is just to protect the children or to protect, women in sports. No, these are all culture war issues where they take that inch and then turn it into a mile. And so we can't fall for that. But I guess, it's good to celebrate. These things are getting overturned. Kansas City in Missouri, which is going super crazy with its laws. Kansas City is like, we are a sanctuary city for trans healthcare for trans people. And so thank goodness there still are some good hearts left in America.
Just want to say that these conservatives will bend over backwards to protect children, harass Target employees, and cause all these crazy bills, anything to protect the children, except for when it comes to school shootings.
Yeah.
Then there's
nothing that they can do.
No.
I've started asking them if they would like to pass legislation to end post-birth abortions in our schools.
Ooh.
And see how they handle that. Because, that the disconnect is so impressive. It's almost really impressive, the mental gymnastics that they have figured out how to do. Like it is wild. And to go to sleep at night like you didn't just say shit out of both sides of your mouth. Like it is absolutely insane. But
hey, once that umbilical cord is cut, baby, Christians don't have to give a shit anymore. You're on your own now. You're on your own. That umbilical is everything. Once
I think it's
the kid, screw the mom.
You're nothing.
Yeah.
I do think it's sad though, because I feel like a lot of these people that are doing all this ridiculous stuff have like used to be good people. Like, yeah, their politics were still wonky and I would disagree with them now. But I just think that it seems like Trump, and I guess probably slowly before him too under Obama, but it's just radicalized people that I used to think genuinely cared.
I don't know if I agree with you. I think like they didn't just wake up one day and decide to act this way. I think that there's a couple of things that are true. I think social media has connected enough people and it's become so prevalent that they now are finding spaces and other people to say their crazy bullshit that they wouldn't say out loud before. And the other thing about it is that not only have they found people around them to say these things, but that, you know, it has always, I think it has always been there, but now we're on the outside looking in. And so I don't think it seemed as crazy or as disconnected like when we were a part of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I would say, like, my intentions, even when I was being a crazy right wing person, I had good intentions at the end of the day. Like, I genuinely, I
So do they.
really, no, I know that's what I'm saying. Like, I believed that what I was doing was good. Like, it's like this warped thing. But like, I had standards too. Like, I wasn't going to go harass people because I felt like that was wrong. Whereas, you know, and maybe, and you know, it's not a monolith. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. But like, I just have seen people that really seemed kind turn into monsters.
I
Yeah.
I agree. But what I'm saying is I think the foundation for what we're seeing has always been there.
Oh yeah, and I would agree with that.
I just think that it has been the flames have been stoked and the gasoline's been poured, and you know the mixture of the internet and, you know, Donald Trump obviously perpetuating that, but yeah, I think that hate and that bigotry has always existed, but just now it has an outlet.
Yeah, and you're right. I think it's been building for a long time, since the moral majority and really kind of the Nixon law and order, common sense people movement. And there are many Republican operatives who now say out loud, yes, we determined we weren't going to be able to get black people to vote for us, so we decided to become the party of the racist so that we could win
Yeah.
elections in the South. So that was a part of the process. But yes, during the Obama administration, I was saying to the Christian leaders around me, like, gosh, we seem racist. And they're, no. I'm like, but we kind of seem like it. And turns out, yes, we were. We just needed the leader we were looking for to tell us it's okay to be racist. And when Trump said it's okay to want to grab a woman by the pee, you know, and everybody's like, oh, this is cool. We have this bad guy who's giving us permission to be bad. Then I think a whole lot of things that were already underlying it all then came to the surface.
In what other election in U.S. history would a tape or a recording of a major party candidate come out like that, like within weeks of the election, less than a month, and it not just absolutely tank their chances? Like, if something like that damning had come out on any other candidate, their campaign would have been over.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Gary Hart had a mistress, you know, he was having an affair and had to quit the race for president. And he was ahead in the Democratic primary. And because he was having a consensual sexual relationship, had to quit the race. And this last former president openly admitted that he molested women and mocked the woman that he now has been found liable for having done that to her. And Christians are like, yay, Donnie.
Yeah.
Keep molesting those women.
Oh gosh.
Because that's what we always wanted, was men to be able to dominate women anyway.
Well, I do think a big piece of it also is this misinformation campaign that Trump, to his credit, did brilliantly. It was the echo chamber of, oh yeah, well, that was just, you know, the way that he just, oh, that was just locker room talk. Everybody does it. Where even like Franklin Graham was like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of, you know, boys will be boys sometimes. You shouldn't have done it, but the Lord forgives. It's like, what? Who are you? Y'all are so mad that Hillary let Bill cheat on her. Like, what is this? It was so, but yeah, but like, I know people that, like, they don't hear the hate crimes that are happening against people of color, against queer people. Like, they don't hear how these bills are actually harming people. They only hear the Fox News version of some random recording of a drag show from some obscure place where a kid was in the audience, and they blast it all over the place, and suddenly I don't know what they think. I guess they think that kids are going to turn gay, which in their mind would be the worst thing you could do besides becoming a Democrat. So
Yeah, it's crazy. There's a great Jordan Klepper video once where he's interviewing there's a black preacher who's a big pro-Trump guy. And during the election of 2016, he was saying Hillary couldn't be president because she couldn't keep her husband from cheating on her.
yes.
And Jordan Klepper's like, so that's worse than this other guy who has cheated on 3 wives now, one while his wife was pregnant. And the guy's like, well, I mean, I kind of see your point, but I mean, it's that dissonant and crazy.
I heard that rhetoric. Everyone blamed Hillary. It was Hillary's fault because she didn't put out. Like, what?
Which, listen, that couple apparently, like, I read a couple of excerpts from a book that one of their former Secret Service agents had written. Those two are wild. Like, they are freaking wild. Like, they are just
the Clintons.
The Clintons are just insane. Like, apparently they broke like lamps.
Sexy wild?
No.
Oh.
No, like angry wild. Like, apparently they'd have like some knockdown drag outs in the White House and stuff like that. Like, they were not friends. Like, so,
and they worked it out and stayed together for whatever reason, but it's
power couple.
I do think, on all of this, maybe telling people not to be human beings, whether it's emotionally, physically, sexually, all of these things, so repressing humanity in people that it pops out in these really weird, dissonant, horrible, horrifyingly criminal ways. And maybe if we could start to change the theology a little bit to say, hey, there's some inherent goodness in you, and start to trust your emotions and yourself. Go get the mental health help you need. We could stop creating these horrible, terrible people who are doing horrible, terrible things in our country, rather than keeping them from drag shows,
Yeah. Be authentic, because the Bible didn't say don't be authentic.
And love your neighbor doesn't mean just love Christians.
Yeah. No, it means everybody. So,
and that verse says, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
So which I don't think they love themselves, which is part of the problem.
Yeah, and that is exactly what it is. I mean, you cannot love other people adequately until you love yourself well.
And it's hard to love yourself when you're constantly at war with your own self. Yeah. You're a filthy sinner.
Yeah. And
all right, go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I was gonna finish with it. I was gonna say, and Jesus even mentioned, like, in the first part of that passage, he says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. The thing that we miss so often is, and the second is as the first. In other words, loving yourself and loving your neighbor is just as important as loving God. And so, anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on. I don't think we can love people well if we don't love ourselves. So pride isn't loving yourself. Pride is putting up a fake front to make yourself look good because you hate yourself and you don't want people to know how bad a person you are. Loving yourself is getting rid of the mask of pride and saying, I'm going to love myself even with my human flaws, because my human flaws are a part of the beauty of who I am. And when I believe that about myself, then I can look at the human flaws of human beings around me and say, and those are beautiful too. And we can start to live out life together with the beauty of our messy humanness and work it out together. Amen.
Yes, Lord.
Let's pass the plate now. And
I'll tell you what, we're gonna run to a mid roll. On the other side, we're gonna go OG. We're going back to the original final segment. We're gonna do some hate comments on the other side. So stick around, and you can donate evangelicalish.com. We just do online giving. We don't want you to feel pressure, but 10% of everything you got. Anyway, all right. Evangelicalish. Follow us to catch all the latest content and encouragement. You can check us out on TikTok by following @Evangelicalish, or subscribe on YouTube by searching Evangelicalish. That's evangelical with an ISH. And don't forget to catch our live streams each and every single Wednesday night on YouTube at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, and 6 Pacific. And now back to the Evangelicalish podcast.
Ooh,
Oh,
sorry.
April, it's the one we hate so much. Paul did the camera angle where we were like all next to each other in tears. I hate that.
Ugh.
Yeah. All right.
Too grody.
Hate comments of the week. We've been getting some, man, people are extra saucy this time of year. I don't know if it's the fact that it's Pride Month and we're obviously very affirming.
Yes.
Former evangelicals, maybe that's the problem. Which, by the way, if you're going to be in Central Washington this weekend, I'm going to be at Yakima Pride Fest in Yakima, Washington this weekend. So come say hi. I'm going to give a speech and talk about allyship. So anyway, if you're in the Yakima, Washington area, you should definitely
That's
come
a
hang out.
fun word to say. Yakima.
I love it. And apparently they have like 7,000 or 8,000 folks that turn out every year. So it's going to be
super cool.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. So I'm really excited about that. But nevertheless, I don't know if it's that they're feeling sad because they can't enjoy the Pride festivities. I think that's really what it is. Ultimately, I think they're just mad that they don't get to have the fun, or whatever it is. But we've gotten some extra saucy hate comments over the past couple of weeks, and with April being back in the saddle, we definitely wanted to hear some of your favorites from while you've been gone.
Oh my gosh. There's a few. I'm going to do two. This one is just one that's really a special bonus for the people that are here because it's an image, but it's this little image of an angel tossing in a naked person into fire, into hell. And it just says, "In you go."
In you go.
And I was like, you know what? That basically sums up what all the other ones are too, but it's just straight to the point. Just in you go.
Listen, points for creativity.
It actually brought joy. Another one the one that I was going to read for the people that are listening that didn't see that. Someone quote tweeted one where I literally, my whole thing was like, "Dear evangelicals, basically stop being bullies in the name of Jesus. There's nothing holy about your war on pride or your war on queer people. You're just being bullies." That was basically my tweet. And so this person who goes by Sharky quote tweeted it and said, "What's the point of putting ex-conservative in your bio? Makes no sense." Miranda replied, "She doesn't fear God. That's why." Sharky replied again, "Or she hates her life and is jealous of others, or both." Or maybe I'm just an ex-conservative and don't want MAGA people on my page.
Like the way they got from A to Z,
I know,
was so.
Why is she an ex-conservative? She doesn't fear God. That's why. That's the answer.
What a conclusion.
It was like, wow, that is a leap.
Yeah.
And by God, they mean Donnie J.
Oh, yeah. Hey, did you see Mike Pence is running for president? He threw his hat in the ring,
y'all, we
too.
didn't even talk about the Republican race.
Oh my God.
Already
it's
so
be a shit
entertaining.
show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So is God rooting for dear leader Trump or dear leader DeSantis or the Christians in the race? Tim Scott, Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, like who's God rooting for in this one?
His announcement was the most cringy thing I've ever witnessed in my life, but God is rooting for the underdog that you never saw coming, but yet he seems to be in every presidential election. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is back in the race.
I remember, you remember that meme? It wasn't a meme. It was like a like a 4-second clip that repeated of like one of Trump's early speeches when he got the nominee. And it was like after Christie had just like kamikazed and sacrificed himself to take down Marco Rubio. And so then he's like got his new position in Trump's cabinet, and is standing behind Trump. And Trump's just talking the normal nonsense that Trump talks. And it does this like slow pan to Chris Christie's face. And you could just see in his eyes, he's like, what on earth have I done? It's like, this guy, what did I do?
I like the guys on Pod Save America say, so Donald Trump has only tried to kill 2 of his competitors. He tried to have Mike Pence hanged on January 6th and gave COVID to Chris Christie through debate prep. Yeah, so he's only tried to kill 2 of them, of his competitors.
I forgot he did that. Yeah.
And then DeSantis. It's gonna be
DeSatan, as somebody said in the comments.
Y'all know Meatball Ron though is the best nickname for him that Trump came up with. As much as I can't stand Trump,
Meatball Ron.
You didn't know that? That's the nickname that he.
I heard DeSanctimonious.
Yes, he said
a while
that,
back.
and they got mad. But now he calls him Meatball Ron, and it's actually kind of perfect. He does kind of look like a meatball, and I would have never thought to call him Meatball Ron. But Trump's nicknames are funny. Like I don't like the man.
Have like the worst voice of any candidate ever. Like he's got to do TV, because if you just hear his voice, you're like, holy crap, who's going to vote for this clown? It's awful. But speaking of,
the problem is,
go ahead.
The problem is he has a voice for TV, but a face for radio.
Yeah,
that's the issue.
Did you see his video of on the 8th day, God created a leader?
DeSantis?
Yes.
Ew, no, stop.
Oh, you got to see it. It's so awful.
I think next week.
God created a fighter. I'm sorry. On the 8th day, God created a fighter.
like Mortal Kombat. Select your character. I think next
comment of the week, Jeremy.
I think we should preview the election next week. I think that'd be fun.
Ooh,
I also had 2 that I couldn't settle on. So the first one actually came in form of a submission form on my website. So somebody really took some time to find this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they wanted me to see it. It says at the top, it says concerned for you, !
Of course.
As a Catholic Christian who is a member of the church Jesus Christ founded, your gospel is not leading people to repentance. And as a pastor, you are sorry, this is all one just run-on sentence. And as a pastor, you are responsible for their soul. If you would like to talk, I'm available and how I can help you.
Wow. What a kind person.
Yeah. I'm
so generous
to
help you.
But they will help me.
Feeling the love.
I want to respond and be like, if you help me stop leading people to hell, I will help you write sentences in English. Listen,
I'll teach you about punctuation.
These people have no grasp of grammar ever. Like the trolls are the worst. And then comment, actually a DM I got on Instagram. There's a hot place in hell for false teachers. May not feel it in this life, but actively leading people to Satan is one of the worst punishable crimes. Hope you sleep well. Know that you work for the devil fervently.
Oh my gosh, fervently.
Wait, fervently. I thought pride was the worst sin. Wait, what?
Listen, don't confuse them.
That is so many words when a graphic of an angel throwing a child into hell would go, just works so much better.
What did it say above there? Get in there.
No, it said, in you go.
In you go.
In you go.
I love it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you didn't have to go into all that. Neither one of these comments had to go into all that. You could have just sent me that meme and we would have been done. There's a hotter part of hell that apparently I'm headed to. So y'all just get regular hell. I get like extra crispy hell.
Wow.
Wow, that sounds like a place. Maybe, I don't know. Mine is from this guy who is a guy named Jason, who's a regular commenter on my page, and he says, "You're too stupid to know that the pride flag is the mark of the beast."
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and
You're the stupid one, Paul.
Yes, that's what
I'm too stupid to know that. I responded and said, I can't wait to hear this one. Help me understand how the pride flag is the mark of the beast. I cannot wait to hear. And he said, the Bible says the whole world will march after the mark. And did you see this month, everybody is marching after that flag?
Everybody?
You can't argue with that reasoning.
Huh. How are you supposed to take the flag as like a mark on your head?
Yeah.
You're too stupid to understand.
Yeah, you're just dumb.
If you weren't so stupid, you would know.
That was so good, Paul. You're just too dumb to get it. That's your problem.
That's it.
Stop listening to Satan whisper in your ear.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I said the things that so I made him a list of things that have been called the mark of the beast since I've been alive.
Yes.
From like the scanning codes on groceries at the grocery store to social security numbers, on down.
Apple Pay.
The COVID vaccine.
Yeah. The COVID vaccine, absolutely. And I said, and the number of Nero, which is what it actually is. And his response back to that was, you must be the stupidest person on earth. It has nothing to do with Nero.
Oh my gosh.
So actual like facts, if you weren't so stupid, you wouldn't be bothered with historical facts.
So many of these people that love to like throw scripture at you, like don't actually read their Bible. Like I had someone telling me, like, I was like, I'm an affirming Christian. I don't remember what I said. It was something affirming. And she was like, well, let me introduce you to Leviticus.
Okay.
And I was like, cool. And I literally looked in her profile picture, which was like, yay big. And she clearly has a blazer on over a t-shirt. That is two different fabrics. So I said, oh, well, by the mixed fabrics I see in your profile, is this like a do as I say, not as I do situation? Because you aren't following Leviticus. And she was like, huh? What does mixed fabrics have to do with anything? She's like,
well,
she said, if you read Leviticus, you would know what I'm talking about. I was like, if you read Leviticus, you would know what I'm talking about.
There it is. Yeah. It's like, well, apparently you don't need to introduce me to Leviticus. I need to introduce you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
And it's always, then there's this delay, and then it's like, well, you'll find out at the end times.
I'm like, great.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Looking forward to it.
That's
when you get thrown in that hotter part of hell.
That's why your response just a second ago was so good, because when they get to that place where they know they have no other argument, they're like, well, you're just too dumb to get it. Like, or you'll find out one day, It's like,
that's the classic. Yeah. God will show you one day.
Such a miserable life. I'm so glad I don't think that way anymore.
But it doesn't top in you go.
In you go.
in you go.
Jesus isn't going to say, depart from me, I never knew you. He's going to say, in you go.
I actually really love it. Like,
I do too.
I think we should start picking a church of the week here on the podcast and send them a card. And that's the front of it.
In you go.
In you
go. And then love from
I
us.
should screenshot it and send it to y'all. So occasionally we can just throw it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Whenever one of us is just being extra heretical, just in you go.
Kayla said in the chat, thus said Jesus, yeet.
And Kate is going to add in you go to my normal conversation now. That's great.
Oh yeah. No.
Oh my God. I'm going to start sending that to people. I'm going to find it.
I'll text it to y'all. I'll text y'all the screenshot.
I think Eddie Murphy used to make a joke in the old days about, the guy that shot the Pope. It's like, oh, you don't have to stand in line to go to hell if you shot the Pope, just go on in. But now it doesn't even require shooting the Pope anymore.
Is it like Spartacus, is it like, or Sparta, this is Sparta, with the, or is it more just kind of,
in you go.
In you go.
In you go.
It's just a total indifference. Like, hey, I'm throwing this kid into this fiery lake for all of eternity.
Right.
In you go.
Which I appreciated that he wasn't pretending to care about me, because I know these other people, they're like, I'm saying this out of love. I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah. Like this guy who was like, "You're leading people to Satan. Let me know if I can help you." Okay. All right.
Very nice. All that Christian love.
Mhm.
Oh, I just love it so much. Do go watch the Shiny Happy People documentary if you want to have some painful moments, for sure.
And the new Hillsong documentary. I just started it, but
Is it a series?
yeah, well, it's four episodes.
Okay. I need to watch it.
Well, I have found out that like Hulu is like the one streaming service we don't have. We have like every other one, but not Hulu.
Well, our friend Janice, friend of the show, is in that, and she's actually got some takes on her social media as well. So you can go check that out. She was actually not thrilled, I don't think, with how the documentary turned out, and so I'm kind of interested to get off into it and kind of see. It sounds like they let Carl kind of spin his narrative.
Oh, did they interview Carl in this doc?
And his wife.
Ah,
yeah,
huh. Interesting.
Yeah, and it sounds like he kind of, centered himself and like kind of played the poor pitiful me card. Like, I would have never done this if I wasn't so, whatever. But yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Okay, well, I'll check it out. Maybe
I don't know. He
won't.
lives here in Oklahoma now, so that's exciting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You should go help him out. Offer your services.
Actually, I'm gonna go do that when you and Beecher and your family comes and lives with us for a week. We can just all go together.
There you go.
Little family getaway to go meet Carl Lentz.
Go TikTok live. We just have a few questions, Carl.
Actually, so many fucking questions. Like, we have a lot of questions.
Good stuff. All right, April, it was brilliant to have you back with us.
It was good to be back. Felt like
Indeed.
old times.
Felt like old times.
Good and the new times to come.
Good stuff.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, leave 5-star review and tell people why they should be watching the show, especially on Apple and Spotify. We would love to connect with more folks. Did you know that you can share episodes out of your favorite apps and send them to people so they can listen?
Yeah.
You should definitely do that. It's a little square, little arrow sticking out of the top of it most of the time. You should hit that button and send Evangelicalists to some people, because we would love to add to the conversation, love to add to the community. Otherwise, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back. Same crazy place, same crazy time next week for April and Paul and Jeremy.